I'm Twice, a hip-hop dramedy. Los Angeles Forum Stage, 9 p.m. The stadium is filled with young people chattering excitedly. The lights go out and people begin yelling. Los Angeles Forum ticket window. There is still a line of people waiting to buy tickets. The teller shuts the window and puts up a sign saying, "Sold out." The person in the front of the line slams his fist on the counter and yells. The people in line emit a moan of disappointment and anger. A scalper appears near the ticket window, holding tickets above his head, and is swarmed by the people in the line, who start yelling and pushing each other. Los Angeles Forum Stage, showtime. The beat begins, but the lights stay off. The crowd goes crazy and begins chanting Jamal to the beat. Sparklers spelling out Glock 9 light up the back of the stage. Finally, stage lights come on one by one, silhouetting the dancers. Enter Freeze and Notorious. Notorious is tall and muscular, wearing several chains and rings. Freeze is thin and wiry with an afro and a gold tooth. They begin a back and forth rapping segment. We see two pretty fans in the audience who smile flirtatiously up at the stage, grooving to the beat. One of them reaches a hand up towards the stage, reverse angle on Freeze, who crouches at the edge of the stage and fondles the fan's hand and winks. But the music stops and Freeze and Notorious step aside. A troupe of dancers spread across the stage, followed by Jamal carrying a gold mic. There's a break in the music as he begins to sing sweetly. The audience erupts into squeals. Jamal throws his head back as he crescendos to a high note. Auto-tune distorts the note until the bass drops. Jamal steps back and Freeze grabs his arm and raises it, causing the audience to scream in appreciation. A dancer steps to the front of the stage and begins breakdancing, and the crowd whistles. Jamal's face is dripping with sweat as he sings. Notorious starts the next verse and steps in front of Jamal, crowding him back a little. Jamal stares at him in disbelief. Pan out to show Freeze rapping. He points to the pretty fans and nods to a security guard. They jump up and down with arms raised. The security guard pulls the girls up on stage. The fans begin twerking with him. He looks down at their asses and then over at Jamal and Notorious with his eyebrows raised. Notorious and Jamal watch him. Notorious makes a disgusted face, but Jamal looks impressed. He starts to sing the chorus. Pan out to show the back of a group of girls near the stage. One of them crouches down out of the frame for a second and re-emerges with a pair of red lace panties, which she throws at the stage. Jamal catches them and raises them above his head in triumph. He puts the mic close to his lips. Jamal 99mm Street, y'all. Act 1. The three rappers are draped on couches around a table covered with shot glasses and a bottle of vodka. Notorious looks angry and sits deep back in the sofa. Freeze is splayed across the couch contentedly. Jamal is deliberately calm as he rolls a blunt and passes it to Freeze. Groupies in skimpy clothing walk by holding fancy drinks. Freeze watches the ass of a dancer walking past the camera as he breathes in deeply on the blunt. Freeze threw a breath of smoke. Those people were crazy, man. I was sure they were about to tear down that stage. Freeze passes the blunt to Notorious, who takes it, still ignoring Freeze. Freeze turns to Jamal, who nods. Jamal, yeah, that crowd was off the hook, no doubt about it. And there'll be just as many people tomorrow night. We're gonna fill up the LA Forum 2 nights in a row. Freeze laughs triumphantly and gives Jamal some knuckles, and then watches the ass of a dancer walking by. Freeze. That makes twice as many honeys throwing themselves at us. There were some lovely ladies down there tonight, boy. Freeze rubs his hands together and whistles. Jamal smiles at him. Freeze leans in conspiratorially. Freeze, hey, did you catch the tits on that shorty in the front? Jamal, you mean the one that threw the panties on stage? Freeze, no, not that one. She was pretty fly, though. You're right. Nah, dog, the one wearing that little shirt that was cut all the way down. Freeze trails his fingers down his chest in a V, and Jamal laughs. Jamal? Oh, that one. Yeah, she was pretty hot. Not as hot as the girl who threw herself on you, though. Freeze high-fives Jamal and laughs. Freeze? Yeah, you know that's right, jumping up. Tell me, who's the biggest player around? Who can make them come with a microphone and a beat? Me. Freeze grabs at a passing dancer, who giggles and struggles flirtatiously. The two knock into the table, upsetting the ashtray and knocking ashes all down the front of Notorious's pants. Notorious stands to wipe off his pants. Notorious, nigger, put it on a leash. I know you have to take all the tail you can get, but have some self-respect. They sit down again, and Freeze's mood is a little dampened by Notorious's gloom. Jamal shakes his head at Notorious. Jamal? He can't help it if our rhymes drive him wild. Did you see the crowd when we started LA Streets? They were on their toes by the second beat. It doesn't matter what you do with it. That's sex appeal right there. Freeze, and as long as I got shit under control, ain't nothing wrong with a little tail. Someone turns on LA Streets in the background, and Freeze jumps up. Freeze! That's what I'm talking about. Bump that shit. He grabs a girl and starts dancing with her. She laughs, protesting, and pushes him. Pan out to see Tanya silhouetted in the doorway. She has her hands on her hips. Freeze goes on dancing, oblivious, until Jamal stands and taps his shoulder, pointing to Tanya. Tanya? Jeremy Francis Miller. Freeze's smile disappears as he hears his full name. The girl he was dancing with runs away. He turns to Tanya with a wary smile. Freeze! Hey, my sexy little honey. Freeze walks towards her and tries to reach around her waist. She swats him away. Tanya! Oh, I see. All of a sudden, I'm your honey? Tanya glares at him for a second and his smile withers. Then she whacks him with her purse. Freeze puts his hands up to protect himself. Freeze! Aw, baby, I'm sorry. She whacks him again. Tanya! Sorry, no, you're not sorry. You're stupid. Why the hell you gonna go humping on some hoes on stage when you know I'm in the audience? Freeze! Oh no. See, those girls just threw themselves on me. I didn't know what to do. Tanya, you were all up in that shit. How you gonna make excuses? Tanya reaches into her purse and pulls out her phone and fumbles with it for a second. Then she shows Freeze a video of him dancing with the pretty fans from earlier. Tanya, hysterical. You're trending. Tanya begins to cry. Freeze. Aw, babe, I said I was sorry, Tanya. You can keep your sorry. If this is how you treat me, forget it. Tanya turns on her heels and runs off. Freeze. Come on, Tanya, don't be like that. Freeze runs after her, and the sound of her crying and him apologizing trails off into the distance. Notorious yells after them, sneering. Notorious. But he can't help it if he's a player. It's not his fault. Jamal takes a shot and then looks at Notorious, serious. A moment of silence follows until Jamal leans forward. Jamal, hey bro, what's up with you tonight? Why you dogging on Freeze like that? Notorious shrugs without looking at Jamal and takes a drag. Notorious, he's just such a little bitch. Jamal, that's just how he is, man. Ain't no different today than he was yesterday. Notorious, well, I'm not in the mood. Jamal, maybe that's the problem, your mood. Notorious, what, I gotta be happy all the fucking time? Jamal spreads his arms in a gesture of abundance and well-being, stubbornly upbeat. Jamal, look around you, dog. We're swimming in money and 1 million people are screaming your name. What's the problem? Notorious, quietly. No, they're screaming your name. Jamal, my name and your name and Freeze's name. Notorious is silent while Jamal takes a shot. Then he leans forward and pours himself a shot, agitated. Notorious, listen, I don't like the entrance, man. Notorious is beginning to irritate Jamal, who slams his glass on the table. Jamal, we've been over this. The show is fine. Why you always gotta fuss? Notorious, interrupting. No, it'd be fine if people weren't trying to bogart the spotlight. Jamal, why you always tripping, dog? You know we sold out the show, and tomorrow night's gonna be even bigger. Your face is all over the country, blazed across the breasts of beautiful women everywhere. Miming breasts. What else do you... Notorious? Why can't I sing the lead? Why does it always gotta be you? Jamal throws up his hands in frustration and looks up at the ceiling. When he doesn't answer, Notorious presses him. Notorious. Why? Jamal, 'cause you can't sing. The mood is suddenly tense, thick. Notorious takes a last puff off the joint, then jabs it in the ashtray, scowling. Notorious, fuck you. That's your problem, man. Ever since we started this project, you act like you're the only one who knows shit. Like without you, we'd... Notorious gets up as if to leave. Jamal stands up and puts his hand out to stop him. Jamal, hey, calm down. You know you're my bro. We've been tight since we were rapping about Sesame Street, man. But they're my fucking songs. Write something, and if Al likes it, we can sing it your way. Otherwise, sing the part I give you and quit getting up in my stage. At this, Notorious turns back and gets in Jamal's face. Notorious, your stage? Your stage? And whose stage would it be if it weren't for me? You'd still be working at McDonald's if it weren't for me. Jamal, fuck you, man. I'll write you a check right now. Notorious, I don't want your money. Notorious yells this last line forcefully enough to shock Jamal into silence. Notorious looks at the floor for a second, embarrassed. Notorious, I want your respect. Jamal gives Notorious a significant look. Jamal, then why you still hustling? Notorious looks at Jamal as if offended. Notorious, what? Nah, bro, I told you I'm done with that shit. Jamal, well, you and Freeze have been spending an awful lot of time together after rehearsals. Just seems like it would happen organically. Notorious, are you serious? After all we've been through, you really think I'm that stupid? I can't believe you, man. Notorious turns away as if disgusted. Jamal sighs. I just don't get it. You don't need to do that shit no more. You got a million eyes on you, a million diamonds on your fingers, and you're still looking for more. When's it gonna be enough? Notorious? Man, you don't know what the fuck you talking about. You don't know shit about me. Notorious slams his fist on the table in anger and frustration. At this moment, Pasha comes in, wearing a yellow leather jacket that says Queen Bee on the back. She comes in quickly, looking concerned about Notorious's outburst. As soon as she sees that the situation isn't out of control, she smiles seductively at Notorious and walks towards him. Notorious walks over and puts an arm around Pasha a little roughly and looks accusingly at Jamal. Pasha's smile withers. Notorious. Right, Pasha? Don't you hate people who stick their noses where they ain't wanted? Jamal, what are you talking about? Notorious lets go of Pasha and takes a step towards Jamal. Notorious, you don't think I know what goes on in my house? The walls have ears, brother. Jamal, what, were you like XT, Notorious's window night? Flashback. The camera hovers in front of the window as Pasha and Jamal talk on the couch in the living room. Pan out to reveal that the shot is actually a computer in the basement. Pan out further to reveal Notorious furiously fiddling with a controller, staring at the computer screen. Jamal, VO, snooping around with your drone or something? End flashback. NT VIP room of club night. Notorious no dog int. Notorious's living room night. Flashback. The maid is wiping down a table. She looks up towards the couch, nervous. Pan out to show Jamal and Pasha on the couch. Jamal leans in to kiss Pasha. Notorious, VO. Though maybe you should dismiss the help before scamming on my girl. End flashback. INT VIP room of club night. Jamal, seriously, that would never happen. Jamal looks at Pasha and winces apologetically. Jamal, not that Pasha's not hot and all, to Pasha. It's not you, it's just I got a good thing with Tina, and I ain't about to fuck it up. INT. Notorious's living room night, flashback. Jamal and Pasha sit on the couch, a respectful distance apart. They are talking, though their voices can't be heard. Jamal, VO. We were just talking. End flashback, VIP room of club night, Notorious. Man, you told Pasha to drop my ass. What do you think that sounds like? Friendly advice? Jamal, remember, you got a girl too. And if your maid tells her everything Pasha does on your couch, I'll be the least of your problems. Notorious lets go of Pasha and steps forward, getting up in Jamal's face. Notorious! Now why you keep getting up in my business, Jamal? You know what? No, it is my business because Pasha is nice. And you shouldn't get her messed up in all of that shit. Pasha steps forward and pushes them away from each other. Pasha, guys, please. You're acting like a couple of pimply-ass little boys. To Jamal, I'm a big girl. It's nice of you to worry, but I can take care of myself. She turns to Notorious and grabs his hand. Pasha conted, and I'm your big girl. I'm here because I want to be here. But right now, she wraps Notorious's hand around her shoulders and brings her face in close to his. Pasha conted, I want to get out of here. Pasha beckons to Notorious with her head as she walks towards the door. Notorious watches her ass appreciatively as she walks, then turns back to Jamal and gets back in his face. Notorious, I will cut you the next time you try and fuck with me. Notorious glares at Jamal as he follows Pasha out the door. Pasha is in the driver's seat and Notorious jumps in the passenger side. Pasha starts driving. Notorious, you know, Pasha, I need someone solid driving for me. Someone trustworthy. Pasha starts shifting through the gears, gaining speed. Notorious tries to stay cool, but her driving is unnerving him. Notorious, and if you can't do it, that's a problem. You don't want to be a problem. Notorious's breath catches in his throat as Pasha picks up speed. Pasha, yelling over the engine noise. Jamal's dumb, but he's harmless. You think some self-righteous little punk's gonna scare me straight? She pulls the emergency brake and pops the clutch, making a sharp turn and speeding down a side street. Notorious is knocked towards Pasha by the force of the turn. She pulls into a wheelie and throws Notorious back in his seat. Pasha, like I said, she skids to a stop in front of Notorious's house and turns to Notorious, who pulls himself back up and catches his breath. Pasha, conted, I'm your girl. She smiles devilishly, and Notorious kisses her passionately. Pasha opens the door, but Notorious grabs the handle and pulls it closed. Notorious, between kisses. Not here. Let's go somewhere else. Pasha pulls away and looks at him. Pasha, what? You don't want me to come in? Notorious. Nah, baby, it's just not a good time. Pasha, oh, but you have such a nice bed. Pasha reaches for him, but Notorious turns away and sighs. Notorious. It's just, things are a little shady. With Brandywine, she'll get over it, but right now's not a good time. Notorious lets Pasha pull him back towards her. Notorious, come on, let's go to the Mondrian. I'll order Cristal. Notorious kisses Pasha. Pasha with strawberries. Notorious, Pasha, all right, fade out, end of Act 1. Fade in. Jamal is getting dressed when Tina walks in. She's tall and cool, projecting both an air of elegance and girl-next-door practicality. She checks to make sure nobody's in the hallway before she shuts and locks the door. She comes over to sit next to Jamal. She smiles coyly and Jamal grins playfully back at her. Jamal? Ooh, I like it. A little pre-game warm-up? Jamal reaches for Tina and she lets him wrap his arms around her and kiss her. And her smile turns to a cringe, not wanting to disappoint him. Tina. Actually, I was just talking to Al. Jamal clicks his tongue in irritation, dropping his arms and standing up. Tina reaches for him and stands up too. Tina. No, listen. You have some unbelievable offers for collaborations. You can't pass these up. Jamal looks at her skeptically, his eyebrows raised. Tina, come on, baby. Just one of these and we'd be set for life. Think of what it'll do for your brand. Jamal smiles teasingly at her despite himself. Jamal, you know it turns me on when you talk branding. Jamal grabs her and pulls her towards him. He puts his hand on her ass and makes a hissing sound with his mouth, pretending to brand her. Tina laughs and shoves him playfully. Jamal, Conted, come on, tell me more. Who's my target demographic? Tina grabs his hands and catches his gaze, growing serious. Tina, no, really, you should do this. Jamal tips his head back petulantly. Jamal, come on, babe. He puts his forehead against hers, serious now. Jamal, Connet, you know I can't do that to my boys. Tina sits down and grabs Jamal's hand entreatingly. Tina, I know, baby. That's why you should record under a pseudonym. Jamal shakes his head. Tina, Kant, come on, hear me out. You could record remotely from the house and they could list you as, say, Master Jam. Nobody'd have to know. Think about it. If God forbid anything goes wrong, you'll already be established as a solo artist. You won't even have to drop a single. Jamal sighs, unable to deny Tina's rock-solid reason. Tina, just think about it. That's all. You don't have to do anything you don't want to. Jamal smiles weakly. Tina kisses him tenderly until his heavy mood is dispelled. Tina, good luck. I'll see you at the club tonight. She leaves, and he flops down in front of the mirror and sighs. Jamal comes in whistling, walks over to a urinal, and unzips his pants. Behind him, the bathroom door opens again, and Pasha walks in. Jamal looks up to see who it is, then looks back at the urinal and starts talking. As Jamal talks, Pasha puts her ear to the door, listening. Then she checks all the stalls to make sure they're empty. Jamal? Look, I'm sorry about the other night. I'm not trying to get in your shit, but I'm just saying it's dangerous. Notorious is all about number one, no matter what he tells you. You're playing with fire, you know that? He zips up his pants and turns to her as she's locking the door gently to avoid making any noise. Jamal, you okay? What's up? Pasha smiles nervously and wrings her hands. Pasha, well, I think you're right. Notorious is dangerous. He thinks he's invincible, you know, and he's getting, well, sloppy. I didn't want to say anything. Beat. I think, taking a step forward, I think you gotta be careful. Jamal looks at her and frowns. Jamal, yeah, that's what I've been telling you. You gotta watch out. Who knows what he might do? Jamal laughs to himself and shakes his head. Jamal, you know, one time in middle school he brought some pot over to the house. Just laid it out on the table like he didn't know exactly what time my mama came home from work every day. XTD's house flashback. Dee swings open the front door. She's young and obviously beautiful, and though her shop uniform is dowdy and ill-fitting, her posture is strong and imposing. Young Jamal and Notorious are fighting across the coffee table, which has a few buds of weed and a pipe on it. Jamal, Kant, VO. I tried to stop him, but she walked in as soon as he set it down. They freeze when they see her standing there. Dee drops her purse and puts her hands on her hips. Dee, what the hell did you bring into my house? Dee's voice can be heard, yelling indistinctly. Jamal, Kant, VO. She threatened to call his pop. Jamal and Notorious look at her, terrified. Notorious points at Jamal. Jamal. So he said it was mine. Said I was trying to force him to smoke. And flashback int, bathroom night. Jamal. Connet. You don't know the whoopin' I got that day, boy. Jamal chuckles to himself. Jamal? Conted. Anyway, he don't mean nothing by it. He's just trying to cover his ass. Pasha shakes her head and sighs. Pasha, I don't understand how you got to be friends with him. You're so different. I mean, you're so sweet. Jamal hams up his disbelief and surprise. Jamal? Me? I'm sweet? You're a bee. Pasha laughs. Jamal, Conted, you're the sweetest thing I've ever seen. You probably wake up and wash the honey out of your hair every morning. Pasha, laughing flirtatiously. Shh. Jamal turns pensive as he realizes what he's saying. Jamal, and you're not just friends with him. You're rolling with him. You're in deep. Jamal sighs and rubs his head. Jamal, Con. I don't know though. Maybe we aren't all that different. We came out of the same hood. Maybe if things had turned out differently, I'd still be there. Pasha frowns and scrutinizes him. Jamal, Kant. You know, we just had different ways of dealing, so to speak. But I know where he's coming from. He looks up at her tenderly. Jamal, but that doesn't mean you should trust him. He'll do what he has to survive, even if that means... Pasha, interrupting. But I can trust you, can I? Pasha comes a little closer and looks deeply into his eyes, and Jamal swallows. The silence is abruptly interrupted by someone rattling the bathroom door handle. Guy, muffled. Someone in there? The guy knocks on the door. They look over, irritated, then look back at each other. The knocking continues, more urgent this time. Jamal cringes and reaches over to unlock the door. Pasha gasps and jumps into a stall, grabbing Jamal and dragging him in with her. Jamal, oh shh! He stumbles and steadies himself against the wall of the stall, cursing. Pasha shushes him and puts a hand over his mouth as she closes the door behind them. The guy comes in and can be heard walking over to the urinal and unzipping his pants. Guy, god damn! The guy sighs in relief, and Jamal starts to giggle uncontrollably. Pasha looks at Jamal pleadingly and puts her fingers on his lips, but soon she's trying not to laugh, too. Jamal reaches over and covers her mouth, which only makes it worse. Now they're both giggling, trying to be quiet and cover each other's mouths. Jamal stops laughing and gazes intensely at Pasha, who's still wiping her eyes and giggling silently. Then she looks at him and blushes, looking away, then meeting his eyes again, bolder. Jamal puts his hand to her mouth again, caressing her lower lip with his thumb as he reaches around to hold the back of her head. Suddenly, Pasha grabs his head and kisses him passionately. Jamal shoves her up against the wall of the stall. At the urinal, the guy raises his eyebrows and nods, impressed at the sound of Pasha hitting the wall. After a minute, Pasha pulls away and tries to regain her composure. Jamal leans over and hangs his head with his arm braced against the wall. He rubs a hand over his head while Pasha straightens her skirt and clears her throat. Pasha, I'm sorry. Jamal winces and shakes his head. Jamal, no it's not. Pasha, interrupting. No, I mean, she shakes her head to clear the fog. Pasha, listen, just do me one favor, okay? Jamal looks tenderly at her. She inhales deeply and looks at him warily. She says this next part quickly, as if she's afraid she'll lose her nerve if she slows down. Pasha, just avoid Notorious for a little while. Don't hang out after shows. Try and find somewhere else.